Geoverse Part 2 To Love is Human by GeodesicDragon Chapter 3 As Long as It Takes. The six friends stood in silence as a grin began to spread across Discord's face. "How can you be the only spirit here?" asked Twilight. Discord groaned. "How hard is it to understand?" he replied. "Gale's spirit isn't in Equestria anymore." "And what the hell does that mean?" Applejack snapped. Discord sighed. "I can't really explain it," he said. "My specialty, as you know, is chaos, not science. But I do know that your human friend has somehow managed to return to his own world." The six friends gasped. "No, no!" Twilight cried. "He can't have!" Discord chuckled. "I'm sorry, but he has," he said flatly. "If your little spell managed to summon my spirit, then surely it would have worked on his." Twilight pondered for a moment before lowering her head. "Good point," she muttered. "So, basically," Rainbow Dash said, "this whole thing has been a waste of time, and there's no way for Twilight to talk to Gale?" Discord clapped sarcastically. "Finally!" he beamed. "Some pony gets it." All eyes were on Twilight as she looked at the floor, sniffling as tears ran down her cheeks, staining the floor beneath her hoofs. "I'm sorry, Twilight," said Fluttershy, nuzzling her friend. "Me too, darling," Applejack joined in. "Blah!" Discord groaned. "Too much affection. Now, if you're quite finished, you can let go of each other to end the spell." Twilight didn't look up, she only nodded. "I hope to talk to you again soon, my little ponies," Discord cackled. "I must say I've enjoyed talking to you all. Being trapped in stone can be quite detrimental to one's social life." Twilight let go of Fluttershy and Applejack's hoofs. In an instant the purple cloud was gone, as was Discord's spirit. Throwing herself onto the ground, Twilight wept bitterly as her friends stood around her helplessly. "I thought for sure that—" Twilight said between sobs. Pinkie Pie walked over to Twilight and pulled her to her hoofs before hugging her tightly. "Think of it like this, Twilight," she said. "If Discord was right about Geo being back in his own world, who's to say he's not trying to find a way back here?" Twilight pulled her head back and looked at Pinkie. The pink pony's eyes were bright and full of hope, and her face had its usual warm smile on it. "You're right, Pinkie," Twilight said, rubbing the tears from her eyes. "If I know Geo, and I do, he'll be trying everything he can to come back to us, and especially to me." Pinkie smiled. "That's the spirit, Twilight," she beamed. "He'll be back, just you wait. And when he does return, I'll throw a welcome back to Equestria and congratulations on your engagement party." Twilight whimpered. "I forgot he was going to propose to me," she sighed, as she levitated a small box over to her and opened it. Inside lay a golden band adorned with rubies, sapphires, and diamonds. "Don't worry, darling," Rarity said reassuringly. "I'm sure he'll soon be here to give you it in person." Twilight put the band back in the box and placed it gently on the table. Forcing a smile on her face, she looked at her friends. "I know for sure that Geo is trying to come back to us, to me," she said, determination in her voice. "With Celestia as my witness, I will wait for him, no matter how long it takes." She looked up at the ceiling and raised her voice. "Do you hear me, Discord?" she yelled. "We will be together again, no matter what you think." The other 5 ponies cheered wildly. "Come on, girls," Twilight said, a smile on her face. "I think it's about time I showed myself around town. Every pony is probably worried about me." The others nodded. "Let's get some lunch, my treat," Twilight said as she opened the door. Her friends trotted out the library, allowing Twilight to lock up. Turning away from the door, she looked up at the afternoon sun. "I know you're out there, Gale," she said softly, "and I know you're coming back to me." With a contented sigh, Twilight quickly trotted after her friends. "Okay, thanks, Doctor. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye." John put the phone down and let out a humph. "Well," I said to him, "what did he say?" "He would like us to see him in his laboratory tomorrow at 10 for an interview," John replied. "Okay, sounds good," I said as I picked up a beer. As I drank the contents of the can in one go, I saw John watching me, a look of concern on his face. I crushed the can and put it into the recycling bin next to the couch. "What's with the look?" I said. "Nothing. It's just that—" John hesitated. "Spit it out, mate," I replied, raising an eyebrow. "Well, I can't believe you're giving up so easily," John said bluntly. "I have to give up," I snarled. "There's no way back. I have to accept that I'll never see her again." "Bullshit!" John yelled. "You saw Derek's court case through to the end, and that was hard enough after what happened." I sighed. "That was different," I said slowly. "That was real." "And so was your time in Equestria." John pointed at the pendant around my neck. "That thing proves it." I gently ran my fingers along the pendant, remembering the moment Twilight gave it to me. Suddenly a thought came to me and I snapped my fingers. "Maybe the pendant is the key to getting back," I said, taking it off and looking at it. John shrugged. "Maybe," he said. "But how?" "I don't know," I said flatly. "But I intend to find out. This pendant holds the key to me getting back to Equestria, and with God as my witness, I will find a way." John chuckled. "There's a Geo I know," he said, patting me on the back. "When you were talking to Dr. Sorrow, did he tell you what it is he was working on?" I asked. "He did mention something about seeing it to believe it," John replied, a hand on his chin. "But other than that, I don't know exactly what it is he's studying." "Well, he's a scientist, so he'll have connections," I said. "I'll ask him if he knows anyone who can help." John narrowed his eyes. "And what if he thinks you're crazy?" I laughed. "I'm in love with a purple unicorn," I replied. "Doesn't get much crazier than that." John smiled. "But seriously, if Sorrow can't help, I'll find someone who can." I put the pendant on. "I'll go through every scientist in the whole fucking country if I have to. One of them must know something." John put a hand on my shoulder. "I'm with you every step of the way, mate," he said reassuringly. I patted his hand. "So help me, I will find a way back to Equestria. I will return to the land where I belong, with the mare I love." I looked up at the ceiling. "No matter how long it takes," I said flatly, "I will hold Twilight Sparkle in my arms again."